Hello and welcome back. So still on this point here, I would actually want us to see how we can use the XLOOKUP in a point where we have the first name to be Simon. So this is Simon and this is also Simon. And we would actually want to have the output of the salary where the first name is actually equivalent to Simon, but you can check that you have two persons called Simon, but the last name has to be Rodriguez. So the last name has to be Rodriguez. So how do we actually go about that? So that looks a bit complicated, but with XLOOKUP, that one will actually be very simple. So first of all, subscribe to my YouTube channel, then follow me on my X account so that you can build a very big community on Excel analytics. So that's it and done. So let's now get back into this point here. So the advantage of XLOOKUP is that it can do multiple lookups. Yes, multiple lookups. So for example, it will come to this point here and check for Simon in this array here, and then come to this point also and check for Rodriguez in this array here. Then it will actually have to return, yes, the salary for, it will actually have to return the salary, that's the current salary for a person named Simon and the last name being Rodriguez. So Simon Rodriguez, the salary is actually $2,600 US. So let's actually see how we can use the XLOOKUP to go about that. So it's equivalent to XLOOKUP, just like that. You open, it will ask you for the lookup value. I have two lookup values, this one for the first name and this one for the last name. So let's actually start with the first name like that. So G22 and they are actually two. So G22 and H22. So those are my two lookup values. Comma, it will ask you for the lookup array. So for G22, which is actually for the first name is actually on this array here. That's H12 to H20. Then because they are actually two, and another array is actually on L name. So this array here is actually the second one that's on L name, and I12 to I20, just like that. Now, what is the return array? In this point here, I would actually want to have the current salary. So select the current salary to be the return array. Return array is what you would actually want to be your output, where your output actually comes from. So your output comes from M12 to M20 because that's where we have the C salary. So you close the XLOOKUP like that. So in this point here, you can actually check that these two here are actually my lookup values, and these two again here are actually my lookup arrays, and finally M12 to M20 is where I will have my output. That's what we actually call the return array. So let's actually see if we'll actually get $2,600 US. So that's what we actually expect. $2,600 US. That's it. So before we actually continue, let me actually take you to this point here. So in this point here, I'll actually be taking your task. For example, the templates. I can actually customize for you the templates or create for you or design for you any template that you actually need. For example, the personal finance and budget trackers, inventory management systems, and HR payroll trackers. There are actually many sales performance trackers, so many. So I can also design for you a template and manage it for you. So I design and manage. That one will be actually $50 per month. But for these one-time templates, you can just pay $19, $12, $17. We'll actually discuss and see how complex it looks. In this point, suppose you actually have Excel projects every month. So there will be what you call the monthly retainer, where we have the monthly subscription. Cloud in Excel, dashboards and charts, automation, pivot tables and models, Power BI, financial forecast, templates management, all this just for $550. Imagine that. That's a good deal. For the one-time task, for example, the AI-powered dashboard design, AI data analysis and insights, AI automation and smart macros, AI enhanced Power BI reports. These ones are actually their prices: $150, $200, $250, and $300. Very favorable indeed. So get me all those projects and I actually do those projects to perfection. That's it. So apart from that, I also have my courses here. So I would actually be giving you early access to my courses. That's on Google Drive before I actually get back the website. So there are some updates on my website, and when the website is actually back, I'll actually get you the access to the website. So all these Excel courses here, I'll actually charge you just $100. Imagine just $100 for all this. That's the biggest bargain you will ever hear or you will ever get. So what if we actually add the same Simon there, the first one there being Rodriguez? What could have been the output? So the output could have been 6,500 because it actually identified the very first one and give you the result. So the very first one is actually Simon Rodriguez and it's actually 6,500. It won't actually go to the next one again. So just the first one and it will actually return for you the current salary. Now, suppose we actually have the two like that and we would actually want to add another lookup value in this point to be equivalent to the age. So in this point here, you actually realize that we have Simon and we have Simon, we have Rodriguez and we still have Rodriguez. So the factor which might actually separate these two is the age, the role, or the starting salary. So in this point, we have actually left the age to actually separate these two. So all of them are actually Simon. All of them are actually Simon. All of them. So the two are actually Simon. That's the first name, Simon. The last name is actually equivalent to Rodriguez again. And the age is actually equivalent to 56. So a case where the age is equivalent to 56 and you have to obtain the current salary. So it will be 6,500 US dollars, or we can just have 51. There's no problem with that. So we can still have 51 there. So let's actually use the XLOOKUP in a case where we have 3 lookup values. 3 lookup values. Don't forget that. So XLOOKUP like that. Then you actually open. So this is actually my lookup value and there are actually 3. This is the second one and ampersand. This is actually the third one. So ampersand is actually shift 7. Shift 7 you'll actually get that and that's actually the ampersand. Comma, it will ask you for the lookup array. So for G22 Simon, this is actually available in this. So for G22, it's actually available on this point here. That's actually the lookup array for G22. That's where we have the first name array, this first name array, then and on this point here, the L name. This is where we have the array for the L name, and the age. This is where we have the array for the age, just like that. Now, what will be the return array? In this point here, we actually want the current salary. So the current salary is actually available in this array here. Just like that, you actually close. After closing, hit enter on the keyboard, 2,600 US dollars. So that's it. So follow me on my X account, subscribe to my YouTube, get me those projects, get me the projects on the templates, and also get the access into my Google Drive so that you can get to master Excel. That's all. Let's meet in the next video.